been percolating in my brain, I know percolating, is because we've talked about Christmas horror the last few times we've been recording. And it's something that one of my siblings brought up. So as you know, at work, I run a book club, and in running the book club, I choose the books pretty much in advance, because we have to order enough copies for the book club to read prior to the meeting, and we get like a month each. We get each month to like kind of read the books. And so in thinking about Christmas horror and stuff like that, one of the last books we read in December of 2019, I think it's called 7 Days of Us, and it's about a English family who go to their like country manor home, and the woman, one of the daughters of who goes there, she is a doctor, and she just finished doing like kind of like a Doctors Without Borders, and she goes to like a country in Africa that has this like terrible illness, and because she was there, the family has to essentially quarantine with her, so they're stuck together for 7 days without like outside contact, because 7 days. So I just keep thinking about that, because again, we read it in December of 2019, and like 2 months later we hear about like COVID happening, and my sibling that was in the book club read it, and they're like, and we talked about it like months later, like after like COVID, like, you know, we had like kind of a general shutdown and stuff like that. And my siblings always like, it's like, how did you know? What was your premonition to pick that book? And I said, honestly, I was just looking for a holiday book for December that wasn't like a complete romance or like a cozy mystery. I was looking for something that, you know, had the holidays in it and was set around the holidays, but wasn't like complete sugary sweet nonsense. And it haunts me a little bit. I think about that and I just go, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds of all the Decembers and all the years and of all the gin joints in the world? Like, you walk through this one, I'm like, what are the odds? Like, I don't know. Was it a premonition? I don't know, but it's still a little spooky to me.
Yeah, it's like I was just talking about Station 11 the other day, which I loved the book, and then I never watched the miniseries because I remember it leading up to it because I knew someone who worked at HBO Max, like when that was like in development, and it aired like March or April of 2020.
Yeah, I remember
it's like
that.
About a pandemic, and like nobody wanted to watch it because they're like, we're living this right now, I don't want to watch this. And it like tanked, and that sucks because I've heard from the people who did watch it that it's incredible, and I think the book is amazing. So like I just remember being like, how did y'all know? Because you should have known better. You should have held that one for a while, right. I guess.
And like Netflix too, they also like a month before like the pandemic kind of really hit the United States, they released something on like, it was like a documentary that me and my husband watched about like like what would the United States do, and like kind of different facets of like, are we ready for it? Like what we do for research. Like one of the episodes focused around a guy who was looking for a cure for the flu, like a universal flu shot. And I was like, well, that's amazing. And then I'm just like, how did they know? Like, did they know? Did they know? Because that was like February that we watched it.
Well,
like,
yeah, because I mean, like people also like knew that COVID was spreading in like October, November of 2019. That's why it's COVID-19.
Right.
But like the US didn't give a shit about it until it got here.
Right.
Because we're the US.
We're the US. So it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Things that percolate in my brain lately, and I can't unthink about it now. And I'm just like, what was 2019 Beth thinking when she picked that book for book club?
I don't know, man. I don't even know what 2024 Britta is thinking right now, because it's the new year now. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You're here. Unless the world ended and then this never gets posted, we won't know.
We're recording for the future. Welcome to the Lake Eerie Library. dear listeners. I am Beth.
And I'm Britta.
And we are alive, hopefully.
Right now we are, but there's still almost a month left.
That's true. That's true.
Anything could happen.
And today...
Anything could happen.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm knocking on my head. Hold on.
Whoa.
Knocking on wood here.
Look at that light up.
I
My
know.
God, why was it so loud?
Sorry, it was emphatic. I would like 2024 to be okay.
I just feel like, not to make this all about me, but I just feel like I deserve a year where only good shit happens to me. I'm real sick of the bad shit.
I think that's very fair. Yes, I've read a lot of astrology stuff lately, and it did say that 2024, not to get too woo-woo, because I know that, I'm sure, I don't know if there's any astrology girlies that listen to
I'm
us.
the wooiest witch in the woods.
But read that 2024 is going to be a good big year for Pisces.
Here's the thing, though. It said main character energy, which does not mean good things necessarily. It just means you're at the center of it.
Yeah.
Which I don't want the bad things. Keep the bad things. Give it to someone else. Give it to a Scorpio, not our spooky sponsor. One of the ones I don't like. One of the October Scorpios I don't like. I'm thinking of one specifically. Give it to her.
Oh. Okay. Anyways, so
she knows what she did. She's a bad person.
This feels very like Roxanne Gay, like on kind of the heyday of Twitter, where she'd be like, I have my list of nemesis. They know what they did.
I have my Aria list of like names of people who have wronged me that like, I don't quote them every night, but like if something bad happened to them, I don't think it would affect my day. And she's like number 3 on the list.
Wow. So starting so positively into the new year.
We're just carrying this shit with us.
We are going to talk about today,
what I need. We're going to take a hard left into what Britta needs to just calm the F down.
We're going to talk about some spooky stuff as per usual, but I'm not saying winter's like the time of year that you go on a lot of trips, especially in Ohio.
I think most people hunker down.
But where you probably would go if you were gonna go like anywhere? You would go indoors somewhere, and you'd probably stay the night at a cozy little, I don't know, bed and breakfast. What do you think?
Maybe, or just like, a remote hotel in nature.
Yeah. Fair enough. So today we're going to talk about haunted Airbnbs, or like haunted locations in Ohio that are places that you can stay today. So the place that I am talking about, and I know the place, like they're places you can actually visit today. So if this is your jam, one, kudos to you, because this is not my jam. I don't stay at spooky places. I want to be home for the evening. Also, my tater tot is at the age that I feel like this is when like the small children see dead things and like, oh, hi, Grandpa, hi, Papa. I like, no, who are you talking to? I don't want that. I don't want to deal with don't want a poltergeist TV moment.
Danny Torrance on his big wheel.
Yeah. No, thank you. We're good for that. So
I would 100% go to, what is it, the Estes?
Oh, yeah, out in Colorado.
Yeah, I would 100% go there in the wintertime.
Can you go there? Like, isn't that road still kind of impassable?
They have, like, conventions and stuff there in, like, the wintertime.
Okay. Stephen King, did you lie to us?
I've seen people there when there's snow on the ground.
All right, that's fair. He got me good. I believed his world of fiction.
This was what, like the 70s or 80s?
Yeah,
like
Snow technology is
2023 now.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're the greatest at like snow technology, because we definitely had snow in our location in November, and I couldn't get to work because there was like a 6-car pileup on one of the major roads in our small
that's
town.
That's not snow technology. That's just people who are dumb when they get in a car.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing with Ohioans, that like it's just like every season people forget what weather is. It's like, oh, it's raining. I'm going to drive 150 on the highway, or I'm going to drive 20 on the highway. I can't drive anything in between.
There's no in between.
Same with snow. It's like, what is this? I don't remember that I don't get traction if I'm going a certain speed.
What do you mean I have to brake around this corner? I don't ever brake around it when there's no snow. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Dude, come on. Yeah, I feel like with that small spooky aside and stuff like that, we're going to talk about, again, these haunted places in Ohio that you can visit today. The first place I'm going to talk about is the oldest hotel in Ohio and was established in 1803. So again, for those of you who are like, Ohio became a state in 1803. Well, small aside. We became a state in 1803, but we actually didn't become a state until like the 1950s because we were never officially declared a state. And they had to post like many presidents later and be like, yes, Ohio is officially a state.
This is probably why we have such like a complex about like, don't say we suck.
Yes, 100%. There's still people that are like alive that like remember us like, becoming an official state.
That and like the Rust Belt. We got a lot of feelings about things.
Yes. So anyways, 1803, we became a state. We are having a birthday this year as the state of Ohio. But the place I am discussing is the Golden Lamb Inn, which is a cool name for a hotel.
It would also be a good name for a serial killer.
The Golden Lamb. The Golden Lamb. I mean, it's catchier than like the Golden State Killer, but...
I'm coming to you tonight live on the scene as the Golden Lamb Killer has struck once again.
Yeah, it has a good feel for it. This is not to inspire anybody to kill people.
No, TM, I'm going to sue you.
Again, not to inspire anybody for that, but we're just saying it has a good ring to it. So, again, it's in Warren County, and the Warren County seat of Lebanon in 1803. It has a 4-story structure built around the 1815 rebuilding of the inn, and has what is considered colonial architecture. And it's known as the Golden Lamb because that's the image that was on its signboard for the benefit of the illiterate back in 1803, because that was a thing they had to do with. So
yeah, all of like central Philadelphia has street names running east and west because it would be named after the trees that were on that street.
Okay.
So like you have like chestnut, walnut, pine. So, like, you could look at a tree and be like, oh, yes, I'm on Pine Street. I need to go 2 blocks north.
As long as you can identify the trees. If you're not a tree girly, you're going to have a hard time.
If you're not a tree girly and you can't read, where are you going anyway?
I can't tell if this is a walnut or a chestnut tree.
They also had a lot of ginkgo trees, and those things stink.
They are very pretty in the fall.
They're beautiful, but those little fruit things smell real bad, and they make the ground really slippery, and everything there is brick or cobblestone. Anyway, back to the Golden Lamb.
So, it has also been known as the only hotel, the only hotel, the Bradley House, the Lebanon House, and the Stubbs House. So I said it was established in 1803, but the actual other architecture of it was built in 1815. By Ichabod Corwin. We got some good names going on today.
Ichabod or Ichabod?
Ichabod.
Okay. You said Ichabod, but I honestly like that better.
Ichabod.
That's Bob. Is that short for Robert? No, Ichabod.
So, the reason this was built was it's on kind of a major highway between Cincinnati and Columbus, and there's a lot of famous people that have visited here. So we have, for presidents, we have William Henry Harrison, which shouldn't be too much of like a stretch because he's from Ohio. Benjamin Harrison, John Quincy Adams, Martin Van Buren, Ulysses S. Grant. You know, there are a lot of Ohio presidents I'm naming. So I'm like, yeah, but it's also like, feels like a given, right?
That just means it was a fancy place to stay.
Yeah. Ruther B. Hayes, James A. Garfield, William McKinley, Warren G. Harding, William Howard Taft, again, Ronald Reagan, and George W. Bush. Other famous guests include Charles Dickens, Mark Twain, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Daniel Webster, Thomas Corwin, Clement Vallandigham.
Did the devil stay with Daniel Webster?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. Questions for later.
So Clement actually infamously shot and killed himself in his hotel room at the Golden Lamb.
Yikes.
While attempting to prove that a man who his client was accused of shooting shot himself accidentally.
Ooh.
I'm not laughing.
Yikes.
Oh, boy. Cordial Hull, who was Secretary of State for Franklin D. Roosevelt, Robert A. Taft, DeWitt Clinton, and Lord Stanley, who later became Prime Minister of the UK. And more recently, Republican presidential and vice presidential candidates John McCain and Sarah Palin spoke at the Golden Lamb.
Okay.
So a lot of politicians has kind of a reputation. And of course, it's like a nice place to stay. It is a fancier place to stay. Of course, it is haunted. But before I get into that, I will tell you that 1926 Robert Jones, who is the grandfather of Senator Rob Portman and husband of Virginia Kunkel, leased the Golden Lamb, and then in 1927 he refurbished it, and then in 1969 they leased it to the Commissar family, who owned and operated the now defunct 5-star Masonette restaurant in Cincinnati. The Portman family, so Senator Rob Portman, actually owns the Golden Lamb today, which also makes sense that his family has kept it, and that's why a lot of like Republican candidates and presidents have stayed there. They probably stayed there for free. Let's be honest. Hands shaking hands, all that type of fun stuff. But anyways, it is on the National Register of Historic Places in Warren County. It is also...
Dunk, dunk. It's Rob Portman. He's texting you right now to thank you for the shout out.
I have a sibling that used to tweet just every so often to Rob Portman, and it was not nice things all the time.
I feel like I can guess which one it is.
I'm sure you can, and it tickled me every time it would come up. I'm like, is that all you do on Twitter? And they're like, yeah, pretty much. They're like,
funny.
It's a great like way to just be able to let out your feelings. I'm like, yeah, that's
I mean, you could do that now. Nobody's on Twitter anymore. Like,
That's
you can
true.
just go shout into the void.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
one of my professors calls it the public urinal.
Yeah, that's about where it's at now. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. So, anyways, the Golden Lamb is haunted. That makes sense, right? It's like the oldest hotel in Ohio. Obviously, somebody died there.
In a really unfortunately funny way.
Yes. They shot the... Yes.
It's not funny that it happened. It's just ironic.
It's very ironic. So, and the Golden Lambs, like, very much, they know that they're haunted, so they, like, promote that as well. Which I feel like for Ohio, and when we talk about these places, I feel like that's almost like, don't you feel like that's very much like something that it's like standard fare almost, when we're like, yeah, this place knows it's haunted. It's advertising. It's well haunted.
Yeah. It's like not a commodity, but it's like become part of, I feel like, the hospitality industry. It's like, and we're haunted. Come here and spend your money. Do you want to bring your equipment? Extra $50.
Yep. So Food Network actually named the Golden Lamb Ohio's most haunted restaurant. And
I don't know that Food Network has the authority to be like,
feels weird that
naming things the most haunted.
Yeah, it feels weird. I mean, they do Halloween wars and stuff like that, but it feels weird that they are like I feel like ghost hunters should be able to
this feels like more of like a
gimmicky
discovery.
Yeah, that would be fair. Well, they're owned all by the same company.
Yeah,
now,
but like that's why it's a different channel. Like, if I want you to tell me they have the best twice baked potato, I go to the Food Network. If I want you to tell me something's the most haunted, I want to go to like somebody who has actually like used a K2 meter before, not like Alton Brown.
I love him though. If he told me it was the most haunted, I would believe him.
I'd say go fuck yourself, Alton Brown. You don't know anything about ghosts.
I love him so much.
Now tell me the science of how I canal something.
So the different spirits that they welcome, one is, of course, Clement, who was a celebrated Civil War U.S. congressman from Ohio who fatally shot himself by accident in the room that now bears his name. So if you want to stay there, you can stay in that room. He was a leader of a northern anti-war effort whose groups were known as Copperheads. So you might have heard that in like your Civil War history. He faced charges for treason for opposing the war, and he was then escorted to Tennessee. Eventually, he sailed to Canada, where he launched a campaign to become Ohio governor while still in exile, before secretly returning to Ohio in 1864. I respect it. Years later, when he was in Lebanon in the second floor room of the house, known as the Golden Lamb, he was preparing a defense for Thomas McGeenan, who was accused of fatally shooting another man in a saloon brawl. While demonstrating how the victim could have accidentally shot himself while drawing the pistol, he thought that the gun was unloaded, and then he fired a bullet into his abdomen.
This is why you always check a weapon. You don't ever point it at yourself.
No.
Ever.
So he died in the room the following morning. Several reports of a man matching his description have been made over the years. His untimely death is also not the only ominous occasion to stir up rumors of supernatural activity. So some guests believe the hotel is haunted by Supreme Court Justice Charles R. Sherman, who suddenly died at the end of the age of 41. So his death left his wife and 11 children during the Civil War. A lot of Civil War deaths going on here. His 11 children, who included Civil War General William T. Sherman, penniless. So most of his children were put up for adoption, and some say the guilt of his family's demise keeps his spirit in the end.
Okay.
Visitors and staff also have reported ghostly encounters of a little girl who's believed to be the spirit of Sarah Stubbs or Eliza Clay. So Stubbs lived at the Golden Lamb as a child, but eventually left, married, and had a family of her own. Some say she appears at the Golden Lamb as a young girl to revisit her childhood home. Other believes that the girl is Eliza Clay, the daughter of Henry Clay, President John Quincy Adams, Secretary of State and U.S. Senator for Kentucky. The Clay family was traveling to Washington, D.C. when little Eliza fell ill and forced her family to stop at the Golden Lamb. Eliza succumbed to her illness at the Golden Lamb, but was buried at a local cemetery far away from her Lexington, Kentucky home. They said, if you have some ghostly encounters, let us know so we can help appease them. The Golden Lamb didn't go into what would appease them. So there are a lot of patrons that are like, is the Golden Lamb haunted? And they're like, I haven't seen any ghosts at the Golden Lamb. But there are other people besides these people who don't see anything, because that happens in a lot of haunted locations. I feel like we discussed too, where you have that one person's like, I've never seen anything in my life. I'm like, well, maybe the ghosts don't like you, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. Quit being such a curmudgeon about it. But again, another ghost story that people tell is there is one called the imprint theory. So they're talking about with Sarah Stubbs, the reason why she grew up to be a grown up far away, but then she died, is that she imprinted on the Golden Lamb as a child. Just interesting. But then another ghost story that people talk about is a mother told this reporter that's talking about this that when her son was 4 or 5, the family was waiting in the lobby of the Golden Lamb. The young son wasn't very patient and he was getting antsy. He finally turned to his mom and said, "Can I play with the little girl over there?" And his mom responded with, "What little girl?" And the boy replied, "The one in the white dress on the stairs." And the mom looked up and no one was there. Her son, who's now several years older, reconfirmed the story, was like, "Yeah, Mom, I totally saw that little girl, but she didn't see it." So, that goes with the theory of why I also don't want to take my tater tot anywhere.
Your tater tot would be like, "What's that?" And there'd be nothing there. And he'd be like, "What's that?"
Yeah. Probably go up to it and try to hug it too. And I'd be like,
Good.
no, thank you.
he gets like skidamarinked up on the ceiling, and he's just like, good.
So there's 17 historic hotel rooms. One of the guests talked about so he said that when he got to each of the rooms have a little rope across the doorway so patrons can look into the unoccupied rooms without entering them. When this one guest got to his room, he was a musician who was playing for drinks, so he was a little inebriated. He decided the best way to enter was jumping over the rope. He made his attempt and landed flat on his face. The second he hit the carpet, he swore he heard a little girl laughing at him. Again, inebriated. He got up and looked down the hallway and couldn't find anybody. When he heard about like the little girl haunting, he's like, I swear that was her, like laughing at me. Which, you know, if I were a ghost running around and I saw something funny, I would.
Some dumb fleshy wiped out and I was a ghost, I'd be laughing at them too.
I would. Like, that's fair. There is a prominent skeptic in 2008, a paranormal investigator who was also on the senior research fellow for the Committee of Skeptical Inquiry. I didn't know that was a thing. It's called CSI for short. Get out of here. Get out of here. He wrote that he had given a lecture at the University of Cincinnati, and then he checked into the Golden Lamb, and he recalled that I brought up the subject of the haunting. The night clerk told me a secret. Sometimes, she confided, because she found the housekeeping staff so superstitious and credulous, she would slip upstairs at night and turn the pictures in Sarah's room just to mess with their minds. He then concluded with a great deal of self-satisfaction. Once again, I have confirmed the value of on-site investigating over armchair debunking. I had caught another ghost, this time at the very beginning of a stay. Or had he? So there is one skeptic that is like, nah, but other people are prominently like, the little girl one is like the most prominent of the ghosties that haunt this place. So they see the little girl. There's a little girl's dress lying on the bed where they take pictures, and this little girl took a picture of Sarah's room, and they saw like a little dress on the bed, and when they took another picture, it wasn't there. So that's creepy. They see the lawyer, of course, who shot himself, and he apparently just walks the halls. And somebody said if anyone deserves to wander the Golden Lamb, it's him. He apparently also sits in rooms with a cigar and often peers through his room's windows. That's a sad haunting.
Well, also, though, like, is it a smoking room? Like, why are you smoking your cigar in here, ghost?
Well, it was like the 1800s. They probably smoked wherever back then.
Well, back then, but now.
So, yeah, that's just to say it's a nice place to stay. It's very historic in terms of, like, if you're looking for a good chunk of history. I hate reading, like, this feels like the same stories over and over again. If you stay there, you might come across, like, these three ghosts. The little girl seems the most mischievous. She might laugh at you if you do something dumb, like trip and fall.
Or accidentally shoot yourself.
Or
idiot.
But, yeah, if you want like a place to stay that, you know, you're okay with the ownership and stuff like that, then I would say check out the Golden Lamb. And apparently it's got a good restaurant. So if anything, maybe eat there. Then you can tell us how haunted it is. If your gravy bowl moves by itself, we'll know.
What if it's like a Beetlejuice situation where it's like the shrimp or like hands and they like pull you into it?
Oh my God. I want the song to play though too while it happens. Like I want the whole 9 yards. But then you'll have like that one skeptic who's like, no, they're just recreating Beetlejuice. And be like, get out of here, guy, with your dumb credentials, CSI. Get out of here.
Get out of here. Go. Nobody likes salting another human being. Okay. Are we moving on?
Yeah,
All right.
I feel like I've covered enough. If you know, some historical person that's also into paranormal stuff gets on our credits and says, hey, you didn't name these 5 other ghosts, I will feel properly admonished.
Put it in the comments, Buster. So we're going to move on to the Punderson Manor, which is located in Northeast Ohio's Punderson State Park.
Oh, we went opposite sides of the state.
It's about 30 minutes from downtown Cleveland, and the land was originally settled by Lemuel Punderson and his wife Sybil, and the Pundersons operated a grist mill and a distillery. And the story of the Punderson dates back to the Ice Age. So Punderson Lake is about 90 acres and about 85 feet deep in some areas, making it one of the deepest glacial lakes in the Cleveland area.
Oh.
That's for you, Spooky Lake Month girl.
Thank you.
In 1795, General Moses Cleveland stumbled upon the area and called it the Western Reserve. So you've probably heard the Western Reserve in some capacity before. This is part of it. In 1806, Lemuel Punderson traveled from Connecticut and surveyed the area, settling what is now Newbury, Ohio. And Lemuel met Sybil and married her in the autumn of 1808. I just have to stop for a second and take a side tangent, which, wow, it's Britta. Who never saw that coming? The name Lemuel always cracks me up because when I was performing in my improv group, we used to always do these like characters where Lemuel was away at war and his wife at home was sending him dirty daguerreotype photos. And it was like recurring characters that we'd bring up always. And it'd be like one person like writing a letter and dictating it on one side of the stage and the other person receiving it on the other and then sending back their response. And so I'm just like, Lemuel, the years are long and the winters are cold.
You never know. Sybil might have gotten creative.
Maybe. So they got married in 1808, and Lemuel built a cabin for his workers who were there to build his distillery and grist mill. And then he and his wife soon moved into the original cabin to be closer to the mill. Over the next 12 years, Lemuel and Sybil had 6 children, and Lemuel passed away in 1822 from complications of malaria. You thought I was going to say like diphtheria,
I
didn't
did.
you? Not this time. Get out of here, Balto.
Oh.
There is a rumor, though, that he rode a bathtub out to the middle of the pond, pulled the plug, and drowned.
What a way to go.
But the general information is that he caught malaria and he died.
Which is not a good way to go.
That. No. Sybil and their children continued to develop the area, changing the name of the pond to Punderson Pond in honor of Lemuel. Sybil died in 1872, and it was stated clearly that no one owned the rights to Punderson Pond, so it was used for recreational purposes from people all over the area. It just became sort of a public use area. In 1885, James E. Wales started construction on a building that was later called the Wales Hotel, located on the south end of the property. And 2 years later, in 1887, the hotel officially opened and was operated by Wales and his wife. The hotel was beautiful. It had a dining hall, banquet rooms, overnight accommodations, music, fishing, boating piers, and fireworks over the pond. This hotel was open to the public for 20 years. After the deaths of the Pundersons, W.B. Cleveland got
oh my god
the family.
So this whole entire time, sorry, small aside, I'm like, I know this name, I know this house. Why do I know this name in this house? And the answer is, dear listeners, is I have researched this house before, but it's been so long, and I've researched a lot of haunted locations in Ohio that they all start to sound the same. But as soon as you said W.B. Cleveland, I was like, I remember having to write that down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this place is haunted.
So he started to purchase land around Punderson Pond after he visited the area, and he stayed at the Wales Hotel as a child. And he was like, I would love to turn this into a private hunting and fishing estate for wealthy people only. So in 1904, he started to break ground on what was called the Big House, which is where Punderson Manor is today. W.B. Cleveland acquired 500 acres of the property, but that was not enough. So he took legal action to purchase the rights to Punderson Pond, which was owned by a descendant of the Pundersons named Ella. He won and got the rights to the pond, so he ended up with a total of 505 acres.
All that for 5 acres, huh?
Yeah. In the early 1920s, he W.B. Cleveland, was no longer able to care for the property after he got sick. So it was sold to Dr. E. Kopej, which he was contracted by Carl Long, who ended up building a 43-room English-style Tudor mansion, beginning construction in 1925, and that is what we know as Punderson Manor today. This property eventually ended up in the hands of the state, and the manor was opened as a lodge. It's open to this day year-round as like a recreational stay. A lot of people go there when they want to like ski or do like outdoorsy things, and then they stay at the manor. Historians believe the 29-room, 14-bath mansion that now comprises the state park's manor house was being built for Long's wife, but Long never completed the home as he lost his fortune during the Great Depression, and he died before it was finished. So, like, the property went back to the Cleveland family and then to the state of Ohio after that. The state finally completed construction on the mansion in 1956, turning it into a resort with lodging and dining. It added 26 two-bedroom cabins, and by the 1970s, it was a popular getaway for Clevelanders as well as a stop for other travelers. It was then that people started to report strange things happening. So the ghosts. So I already told you about the story about the bathtub. There is a park ranger whose job was to make rounds through the building, and he said he heard a woman laughing loudly as he climbed the circular staircase from the resort's main lobby to the second floor. And at the same time, the hallway got, like, instantly so cold that he could see his breath. For a second, it engulfed us, he reported. Then it quickly went down the hallway and stopped. Once the laughter stopped, the hallway returned to its normal warmth. Other employees have reported fires going out, pencils flying through the room, doors opening and closing, faucets being turned on and off. People who work there for a long time are just sort of used to it, to the point where they just like yell at the ghost to stop it.
Could you imagine just minding your own business, like cleaning like the library type room, and like all of a sudden a pencil just like pew, past your ear?
I'd
and
be
you'd be
so
like,
mad.
You're like, listen, I am just trying to clean. Leave me alone.
Yeah. And so they said after they would yell at the ghost to stop, often it would stop for like 2 days and then it would start up again. A restaurant hostess took a little nap in the employee lounge, and she said she woke up to the sounds of children laughing and running around the sofa, but there was no one there.
Oh.
In 1979, 3 employees were staying late near the front desk, and one employee left to go get coffee in the kitchen and came back moments later saying, like, you come with me. The 2 of you have to come with me. So they walked into the room that is now Punderson Manor's lounge, and all 3 saw what looked like a lumberjack hanging by the neck from a rope that disappeared somewhere near the ceiling. It was slowly rotating like somebody hanging, and they watched for almost 3 hours until the sun came up, and then the image slowly faded away.
So when I think of things that have ingrained in my brain, that's the ghostly like sighting where I'm like, that's terrifying. The
Disney nerd in me, former cast member brain, is just like, that's just the like opening room in the haunted mansion that stretches. And of course you could always take my way. And then you like look up and see him hanging. A recent manager told a couple who checked into the resort's Windsor suite, like all of the rooms have their own names. It's the most elegant and most haunted room in the hotel. They checked in, and then the husband came to the front desk, and he's like, my wife she's like very normal, so just you gotta go with me on this.
What a weird...
The fact that she is this disturbed and wants to leave I'm saying this is a problem. He told her that as soon as they went into the room, she sat down on the bed, and then her husband, who was in like the living room area of the suite, came in a couple seconds later, and she looked horrified, and she said, get me off this bed. They're holding me down and I can't move. And he took her hands and helped her up like there was no problem. And she told him later that it felt like someone or multiple someones were sitting on her.
Great. That's actually really terrifying.
Yeah. Very often guests call down to the front desk to report like people being really loud in the room next to them, and there's no one staying in those rooms. One man he asked the front desk to ask the party going on above him to quiet down, but he was on the top floor. The like umbrella company that operates the manor now had like a business weekend like conference thing happening there, and she said that she got in the shower, and while she was in the shower, the like little wastebasket in the bathroom moved over in front of the shower, and so she couldn't get out. It was blocking the shower door, so she couldn't get out unless she moved it out of her way. And then she went to her meetings and came back, and it was back in front of the shower again instead of where she had moved it to. Yeah.
I would just be afraid of it trying to trap me. I mean, luckily it's just a wastebasket, but like, you know, I'd be like, listen, I do not want to be trapped in the shower.
Right. A press group was staying there overnight, and while they were trying to sleep, one person reported that somebody was like tugging on the covers as if they were trying to like take them off the bed. Another person reported an unexplained green glow in the room that slowly faded as the night went on. And after reviewing photographs taken during a tour of the mansion, one photographer found like cloud-like formations hovering around one of the tour participants. And that participant remembered being like really cold suddenly during that part of the tour when the picture was taken.
I just love how extremely haunted this place is.
Yes.
Like what like other than we only know a few people dying. So like where are all these ghosts coming from?
The Wales Hotel that I mentioned earlier, it was destroyed in a fire in 1885, and several children reportedly died in that fire, and that's across the lake from where Punderson Lodge is now. So they're attributing that possibly that is the source of these ghostly children that are like laughing and like running around.
Are you telling me that there's been no ghost hunting groups like just hanging out here?
There are several YouTube investigations posted that you can watch.
But no ghost hunters or ghost adventures.
Have reported seeing someone that looks like W.B. Cleveland standing in there. His grandson speculates that if Cleveland haunts it, it's because he loved the property and wanted to be buried there.
Well, one theory says he is.
Yes. So Carl Long, who purchased the property in the 1920s and started building it to look like what it looks like now, it's that like English Tudor style. He lost his money in the 1929 stock market crash, and some say that he killed himself in the mansion's attic.
Oh.
And they're saying possibly that is who they saw hanging. There are no death records or other evidence to support some of these tales, but a lot of these stories come from credible sources, like people who've worked there for a really long time.
Right.
Or people who know absolutely nothing about the past and are like, hey, this thing happened to me, and it's like too many details for it to be a coincidence.
Right. I say when we talk about haunted locations, like when I'm doing the library program, like I'm not here to debunk, like I'm here to report what people have seen. Like I don't want to discredit people because sometimes strange things do happen that you cannot explain and cannot be explained by like science and logic and stuff like that. And who am I to discredit these poor people who are just like living their life? Now, do I think like people are getting possessed all the time? No, Zach, I don't. Sorry to burst your little ghost adventure bubble. Is it Ghost Adventures?
Yeah, he's Ghost Adventures.
Sorry to burst your bubble. But I do think like spooky things happen.
Nick left the show and spilled a lot of tea about him, so I'm not disagreeing.
But yeah, I do think that these spooky things happen, and we should give people like a voice and like, yeah, this is what I saw. We watched a man hanging for 3 hours.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's like a lot of, like those are the strangest ones, but there's a lot of like the television turned on or off by itself for no reason, or the water turned on in the faucet, or the lights turned on or off in the middle of the night, or there's really loud banging coming from this room, or I hear people talking in there, but there's nobody staying in there, or the laughter, all of a sudden it's super cold. Like there's one, I think the one park ranger, he like gives tours now there, and he was saying like, I was looking at like the thermostat and it was set to 70 and I was shivering. Like it was this sudden cold and then it was gone. And a lot of people report seeing like something sitting on their bed, or, you know, so it's like lots of spooky stuff like that. But this is like a normal place that you can stay. It is beautiful. I watched a video that someone posted on YouTube of her, and I think it's like her daughter are literally just like walking around filming the building as they're walking through there, and they're there late enough in the year that there's snow, like it was snowing, and there is like a huge indoor pool with like these beautiful glass windows all around it, and like I was just imagining like that would be a great place to like go swimming while you're watching the snow falling over this beautiful lake. And like the hallways are just inherently creepy because they're very long and winding and skinny with low ceilings, and all of the doors have like stenciled names on them, and it's like the Sherwood room, the Chaucer room. So it just has like a very shining hallway vibe. I was gonna say,
I feel like any hotel or place that houses people, like that's why they made like an American Horror Story season about hotels. You know, hotels are inherently creepy because they're not home, right? Like they're not a home. They're a place where you are shacked up with strangers for a few evenings, and you all have this mutual trust/distrust that like you're all here, you're all going to kind of abide by social norms. So then when you have spooky things happen, you're just like,
There's not a lot of like foot traffic in the hallways too of like hotels, so they all like inherently have that weird like liminal space creepiness to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even like as I said, the Punderson house feels much more haunted than the Golden Lamb. The Golden Lamb has like more the historic features, and like, yeah, you have those three like main ghosts, and you hear like thumps and bumps and stuff like that. And part of you, if you're like a skeptic, might be like, it's just an old hotel. Like I'm gonna hear like old house noises. And that's something too, like I know we've talked about, like you don't like staying at places, like you have a hard time sleeping at.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like like because I'm scared though. It's just that I'm a very light sleeper, so my brain is used to the noises of my house, so I can usually stay asleep through that. But if I'm anywhere else, like it just, any sound is like, what is that? Wake up. Where are you?
You could stay at Punderson house and have the TV turn on for you, and you'd be like, listen,
yeah,
I got places to do and people to see. You need to knock that off. But yeah, if these are places that you are interested in going to, again, you can make a cross-country journey. There are definitely other haunted hotels. The Writer's Inn is another one that I'm thinking of that's more southern Ohio.
Well, the Writer's Inn is Painesville. Okay. I was going to discuss that, but their stories are more along the lines of Golden Lamb, where it's like, well, like we've heard of these like 3 things that we could tell you about, but it's kind of generic. And then I saw this one, I was like, oh, there's specifics. We're gonna do this one.
Yeah, Punderson house is like, again, I think I was confusing that and Stan Hewitt Hall because they have some similar outside.
Stan Hewitt is also, I think, Tudor style. That's why.
And so I was confusing the two, and I was like, and then I was like, as you were describing it, I was like, why is this so familiar? Because you've read and researched and discussed this, Beth. How could you forget the man hanging from the ceiling? That one stuck with me. That one was haunting. But yeah, so if you want to take a cross state trek from northern Ohio to southern Ohio, there are haunted places you can stay, and you can let us know about them if that's something that you want to do with your life, I guess, in the new year. Check it off your spooky girly list, or spooky, I keep saying girly and it's not girly. Check it off your spooky list.
Girly to me is universal non-gendered at this point, as is dude and like girl, because I will say that to like anyone that is acting up. It doesn't matter what your gender identity is. You are girl. That's just it. Or my dude, please stop.
My dude. That's a growing up in the 90s favorite, I think.
My guy.
But yeah, so if you want to take a or I keep wanting to say cross country, and it's not cross country. If you want to take a cross the state trip in Ohio, which is for us Midwesterners just a day, right? Like, what's 4 or 5 hours? Nothing to us. But if you want to stay there, you can. They are open for business, and you can let us know how spooky they are. Or maybe you're one of the lucky ones and nothing happens to you. In which case, don't tell us, because I like to think these places are really spooky and haunted.
Yeah, and also if you eat in the restaurant, tell me if there's anything vegan on their menu.
Yes.
That's my fear if I go to stay somewhere, is I'm going to have to bring my own food because I'm not going to be able to eat anything.
That's very fair. I think that's a very valid, concern. So, yeah. There are, again, other places. We just wanted to highlight kind of 2 of them. If you're into the more historic places, the Writer's Inn is historic, and I think it was a part of the Underground Railroad.
It was.
That's another good one to, check out if you want to just... And that one's smaller. The Golden Lamb is bigger than that, but it's not as big as Punderson House. Manor. It's so big. It's a manor.
Put some respect on her name, Beth. She is a manor house.
Have they never dredged the lake to see if the body was found?
Oh, I think he was buried. I don't.
Oh, okay. I just wanted. Have they just never dredged the lake? Period. You might find some stuff.
Who
there.
knows?
Listen, if we can connect this to Spooky
Lake, it's a
Lake
very
month,
deep lake.
I would be so excited. I just want to be friends with Geosaurus. That's all. I just want to be friends.
I just want to take a nap. We're on this chill out episode. It's the beginning of the year. Everyone's talking about new year, new me. Yeah, that is also a Into the Dark Hulu New Year's Eve themed horror movie, New Year, New Me, that you can watch on your stay at one of these places, and then maybe a ghost will turn it to Laverne and Shirley or something. But everybody's on their self-care game right now. Everybody's going back to the gym. Everybody's trying to be I just gotta vibe and chill out. So that's what I want to do.
I told you my theory, right, of our haunted library, why I thought the ghost that haunts our library was upset with me kicking the kick stool across the library.
Was it because you were playing music?
I was playing music, but I was not playing. I was playing 3 Doors Down Kryptonite. I had it really loud, and I think it offended the sensibilities of the ghost.
Possibly. I play music every morning when I open, so I also don't go to that part of the library by myself, though. If there's nobody else in the building, I'm not going over there.
I think that's fair. It's the spooky part of the library.
I always hear people walking and there's no one there.
Mm-hmm. Or the toilets flushing and there's nobody there.
Yeah,
I mean, they're automatic,
recently,
but yeah. So, anyways, getting out of our woo-woo Witch in the Woods local stuff. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you get to stay there. If you want to follow us on social media, please do. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Lake Eerie Library. For Instagram, Facebook, just search that and you'll find us. And yeah, Happy New Year. I hope you guys are alive and well and just doing the best you can, because that's how I feel about New Year's resolutions. I don't push them too hard.
Yeah, I don't make New Year's resolutions. I feel like it's too much pressure.
Also, I'm just happy because it's Capricorn season, baby. My favorite. Just for a little while.
I'm just shaking my head at the dance that she just did.
They're my people. I have not met a Capricorn I did not like. Oh, you know what? That's not true. Scratch that. Disregard that. There's one Capricorn that I was like, I don't care for you. Everyone else, though, I'm like, oh, you're a Cap? Yep. Got it. Understand everything that you're doing. That's my astrology bias coming out. So, yeah. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to the Lake Eerie Library. we got some good stuff planned for you this upcoming year. So keep listening to us, please.
Hello? Is there anyone there?
Oh, and let's thank our spooky sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, spooky sponsor.
That sounded very like
this is me,
Ms.
like a
Hannigan.
little kid, like holding up socks that I got for Christmas. Like, thank you, Grandma. You go give her a hug. Okay.
Oh. All right, guys. Thank you again for listening to us. We are the Lake Eerie Library, and stay spooky, friends.